Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've been a long-time subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dustin, and today we're going to be doing a Marini overlay. This is a super cool technique, and I really hope that you guys will watch the video. We're going to be taking a Marini and putting it over some line work. A lot of possibilities with this technique. I wanted to thank our sponsor, Mountain Glass Arts. They're an amazing company that's brought in lampworking supplies to people all throughout the world. If you're just starting lampworking or you've been lampworking for a long time, let them know that you saw this in the video and they'll give you a little bit of a discount. If you're new to lampworking, there's a lot of great tool sets and beginner kits and tons of information that they have. So if you have any questions, feel free to call them, ask your questions. They're super polite and nice on the phone. Thank you again, Mountain Glass Arts. We really appreciate your continued support. All right, you guys, let's get into the studio and make this Marini overlay. All right, you guys, welcome back. This time we're going to be doing a Marini overlay. And this is like a sleeve technique, a technique that you could use to make staircase and other cool things. So this time we're just going to do a Marini overlay. And you're going to want to start off with a 25mm tubing. We're going to heat that up and we're going to make a blank out of this. Pop the end open, make sure to make a really nice round bottom. There we go. Just heat this up and I'll open it with my jacks. So I'm going to start off with one blade because there's a small hole, and then I'll be able to use two blades to open it up. Now I'm going to go in with my 12mm tube and 25mm tube. And I'm going to connect these with a straight seal. When I want to take this off, I usually stop a little bit through and then turn it. And I feel like that gives me a much higher success rate without it breaking. Then I'm going to get it hot all the way around and use my V blade tool to make a score mark and then open it up. So I'm going to open this up, crack it off, and then I'll make a round bottom out of the end of it here. So I'm going to pull out any excess glass that's a little bit thicker, kind of bring that inner wall thickness to the edge there. And now I have a even round bottom. I'm going to heat up one side of it and blow a hole. Hold that in the flame and open this up. I'll be able to put a Marini in that hole and then blow it out. I'm going to heat this up now. I have my Marini on the bench, which was just in the kiln. I'm going to open this up with my reamer, trying to match the size of the Marini on my marver. Grab it with my hemostats, heat up the edge a little bit of the Marini, but mostly on the clear glass, and then push that in and fill that hole. I don't want to heat the Marini up too much on the face because I want to cover that with clear to protect it. Just heat it up a little bit, and now I'm going to grab some clear and put it over that to protect the Marini, especially this one, which I'm using a cadmium color, which of course tends to bubble. So I have a 10mm rod. I'm going to put it on the face of the Marini and then take that off. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do is paddle that in a little bit, make sure that it's nice and even, and you can see that there's an extreme difference in wall thickness here, and that's okay because we're going to get this all even in the end. And also by putting the clear on the outside, it gives me more surface area for the Marini to expand. You can see how small the Marini is here compared to in the end how much more it gets blown out. So I'll pop another hole. Here we go, open that up. And then I'm going to use my reamer, my more severely tapered reamer, to open this up, and I'll pop another Marini in there. All right, and now I have another Marini. You can see it's still a dark orange color. I just brought it out of the kiln. It's still hot. And these Marinis have been polished to about 600 or 1200 grit. And that's real important if they're going to be cut on a saw, that they do get polished before this stage. So I'm going to heat this up. I have 3 Marinis on now, and I'll just start heating this up and then blowing out. As I get the heat into here, I'm paying attention to how the Murrines are moving around. I really want them to expand and get that very thick layer of clear glass on the outside to melt and flow into the wall thickness. So I'm going to put a little air in here and get that thinner, and as I stretch it out, it gives the room for that clear glass to melt into the main bubble. So you can see them starting to get condensed in here and the wall thickness getting more and more even. So I'll apply a little bit more heat, blow to expand, and then heat to contract. You can see the Murrines are now really stretched out. They're maybe twice as big in diameter, and that's kind of a cool look that you can do with Murrines. You can do this with any kind of Marini. Alright, so now that I have the wall thickness pretty good on half of it, I'm going to heat up a little hole and switch the side that the blow tube is on. So I have my rod in my hand just in case I want to pick it out a little bit. It's heating up and blowing. And there we go, nice and thin. Blow it out so it pops, not to create any bubble trash. And now attach a 12mm blow tube to the other side. You can see kind of in this shot the Murrines, how they look when they're stretched out. I'm going into my seal a little bit with the small flame just to make sure that's nice and secure. And now I'm going to remove my original blow tube. Alright, adding a little bit more heat in here. Gonna blow and expand that. And then that now Marini is sinking in a little bit. There's a little bit of a hole, so I'll grab my tungsten and just kind of push that together and make sure that I can seal that hole up. There we go. And once that's sealed up, then I can continue to work with expanding and contracting the glass to make sure that it's nice and even. Go onto the marver, kind of help that along. Blow. Alright, I'm going to go back into the flame, heat this thing up, and we're getting ready for our sleeve. Make sure that glass gets all the way melted in, nice and smooth. And you can go back and forth between your marver, expanding it and contracting it. There we go. Now it's getting nice and even. I'm going to put a good final heat on this whole thing just to shape it to the size that I want. Let gravity do a little bit of the work for me. Alright, expand that up. So now I'm going to pop a little hole in here, and we're going to make that sleeve for the outer part of the Marini sleeve. Heat this up and blow. Open that up, making sure not to create any bubble trash. Now I'm going to attach a blow tube and just go into the other side to even it out and bring it to the diameter that I want all the way along the entire cylinder. And you can see that once the Murrines are blown out, they become a little bit translucent in areas as well. So you can use that effect to your advantage depending on what you're trying to create. I'm going with the Jackson, open this up, and that'll create enough room for me to slide in my other piece. Alright, so for this intersection, we're going to be using a black and white striped tube, and this has some disco sparkle stringers in it, and you of course can use any kind of back stack that you like or any kind of inner sleeve that you like. I'm just going to go with a simple spiral. So I'm going to heat this up and start turning in one direction, trying to make sure that the spiral is traveling at the same rate across the whole piece. So you can see it starting to twist on the front there. And I'm going to twist it up and then blow it into the shape that I need it to fit into the center of the other outer sleeve. So heat this and twist all the way around so that it's making the same kind of rate of spiral across the whole thing. Remove any of that excess clear glass. There we go. Maybe we're gonna turn a little bit more, blow this out, and then we'll get this right into the right shape to put it into the inner sleeve. So I'm gonna heat this up and I have my blow tube connected. I'm gonna take it out of the flame a little bit and blow. You can see it expanding, and that's kind of create the right diameter to fit into the Marini sleeve. Alright, I'll take off the end here. And this is removing any excess glass and also bringing it to a slight taper so it matches the inner diameter of the outer Marini sleeve. Remove this glass and I'll pop that in the water. Alright, and I'd love to see what you guys make with this technique, so please feel free to post them on the online forum Borrowbabble in the school. I'd love to see the kind of work that you guys are doing and be able to give any feedback. If you have any questions, you're also always welcome to open up the chat on the bottom right of any of the screens and send a message to us over here. Alright, so I'm going to take this out and get this ready to put the sleeve in. So remove any of this excess weird glass, make sure to melt that in so it's not dangerous. Alright, and now I have the sleeve. I'll open this up and I'll flare it just a little bit around the a little bit more than the biggest diameter, and that way I know that it'll fit nicely in the sleeve without going all the way in. Alright, so I'll attach a punny here and then remove my punny that I used to shape it. And you can remove the excess glass here. It doesn't have to be a perfect seal because this is just going to get thrown away as part of the waste product of the tube, this little end piece here. Just remove as much of that clear glass as you can. Alright, you got to make sure your timing is good on this because, you know, this is kind of in a precarious point. Slide this in. There we go. And now once this is in there, you can kind of start to see what it's going to look like. And now you want to heat up that lip, that inner lip, and just flare it all the way open so it seals against the clear lip. Just flare it open and getting it stuck on there, and then that'll create the chamber that we need to evacuate the air. Alright. So now that I have that sealed in there, I'm going to evacuate the air and just go along slowly here. Put my blow tube on. Alright, I'm going to use the Naquala for this, for a little bit of it, and I found it really good for doing these backstacks, these small backstacks like this. And you of course can use this just by hand or anything that you'd like. So I'm just going to put it here in the Naquala and it's turning, and this is 2 times the speed. So I'm just evacuating the air and letting that turn all the way. Using a small lynx flame with just a little bit of the outer flame, and I'll slow it down, trying to help it straighten out here at the end as it's getting close to the blow tube. You can hold your jacks in there as well, which will help. And just kind of bringing it all the way down to the end, and now it's sealed up. Take this out, let this stabilize for a second, and then we can attach the blow tube to the other side. So I'm going to heat it up and marver this a little bit to contract it and bring the diameter smaller so it'll fit a 12mm tube. And I'll bring this down a little bit with my tweezers just to kind of help it thin it out a little bit, which I like to do, and also remove that excess line from where the color sealed on the clear. Alright, and go back into marver this again, bring that down to a 12mm. And then we grab our 12mm tube, attach it, and once we attach it, we'll be able to put air on the inside if we'd like to. Alright, and go back in, just make sure that seal's nice and connected and smooth. And now I'm going to remove the original blow tube. And this is where that glass on the tip of the inner sleeve was, so this always gets pulled out in this move right here. Make sure that if you have lines that you're turning the right direction to continue the spiral, and then just pull out any excess glass here. Alright, And now once you have that, you want to go in and apply a really nice big heat, even out everything, make sure it's the diameter that you'd like. There we go. You can see it blowing out, getting the wall thickness the right size. You get quite a bit of glass with this technique because you're using a vac stack on the inner and then of course the outer sleeve, so you're just adding more and more wall thickness. So by doing this, you can definitely get a lot of material. I'm going to switch the blow tube one more time just so I can clean up the other side and make this piece ready to go. So I'll attach my last blow tube here, and this one we're going to leave in this blank form because I feel like that's the way that I would blow glass, or anybody else who's building larger pieces would blow glass and just make blanks that kind of match or would go together and then put those together to make a bigger piece. So for this one, I'm just going to leave it as a blank, and maybe I'll be able to use it for something in the future. I'm going to pull this off, heat it up, and there we go. Get rid of any of that excess color. And there's just a little bit left, and now it's all coming to a nice spiral. Add some more heat into here, and then I'll bring that last part to the same diameter as the back. And now this is pretty even toward glass now. It doesn't feel really weird to blow out like some of the other things, or like the Murrines when we were doing it. It feels pretty normal. Just applying a little bit more heat into here. And at this point, this is pretty much what you're going to end up with, and you can put this in the kiln when you get to the right shape that you want for your blank, and use this for some later pieces, base of a mini tube, whatever you'd like. There you go. You can see the finished product. You can see how the Marini's got a lot bigger, and some of them got translucent depending on how thick they were, and the even spiral black lines that's backing it. It gives kind of a really cool contemporary look. I'd love to see what you guys do with it, so please post your projects in the Borrowbabble forum. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I'll see you on the next one.